share with you an extract from the school trip from the Oliver Twist. This is written by Charles John Humphrey Dickens, one of the finest British writers in history.
Oliver lived a long time ago.
Oliver lived a long time ago.
Back in the days when people were poor, everything was grimy and old and dirty, and things were very unfair. When Oliver was very, very young, just a tiny baby, his mother died, and so he was an orphan. He was taken to the workhouse and looked after by a lazy old lady called Mrs. Mann. Mrs. Mann was mean, and she had done a bad thing. When Oliver's mother died, Mrs. Mann noticed that she was wearing a locket around her neck. And Mrs. Mann looked at the locket and she liked it. Looked at the locket and she liked it. She looked at the locket and she put it in her pocket. She looked at the locket and she put it in her pocket. She stole it. She pinched it. She nicked it. She swiped it. She carried it off. She purloined it. She hustled it. She walked off with it. She pilfered it. She filched it. She looted it. She took it. It was robbery, theft, burglary. It was stealing.
Yeah, I put the locker and put it in my pocket.
Mr. Bumble was in charge of the workhouse. Mr. Bumble wasn't very nice.
Mr. Bumble wasn't very nice.
Mr. Bumble was a beadle, so you get the B twice.
Mr. Bumble was a beadle, so you get the B twice.
Bumble,
Bumble,
beadle,
beadle,
Bumble,
bumble,
beadle,
beadle.
He was a really, really mean man.
He was a really, really mean man.
The meanest old man that you ever have seen.
The meanest old man that you ever have seen.
Mr. Bumble had chosen Oliver's name. He always chose the names
Alphabetically.
Oliver was a very kind boy. He was kind and he was good.
He was kind and he was good.
He always wanted to do the right thing. But he was very, very hungry at the workhouse. There was never enough to eat. His tummy used to rumble all the time. And one day, when Oliver was particularly hungry, he asked Mr. Bumble for more food.
Pizza, the more. More! Never before had a word for more. Wait up. 23 to 5 o'clock. Standing in the window tree. The night between me off. Where is she? If I take my heart to see, would I have an outlet with that? Then it meant to outlet me. What is love? And it's one thing counts. It's about the lives of others. He's got to pick up a bucket or two for it.
Consider yourself at home, consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong, it's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in, consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we've got, we share.
As long as he needs me. Oh yes, he does need me. In spite of what you see, I'm sure that he needs me. Earth will love him still, when they've been used so ill. He knows I always will, as long as he needs me. If you do know that Charles Dickens was born in Portsmouth on the 7th of February in 1812. Queen Victoria was on the throne at that time, 209 years ago.
Charles Dickens was one of 9 children. Times were very hard. And at the age of 12, Charles was sent to work at a boot blacking factory. Charles never forgot how hard life could be. And many of his stories picked up on the difference between the rich and the poor people in British society.
Was born on Christmas Day to save us from Satan's power when we were gone astray. All time.
Charles Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol. It was published in 1843. It tells the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, an elderly miser who is visited by the ghost of his business partner Jacob Marley, and the spirits of Christmas past, present and yet to come. After their visits, Scrooge is transformed into a kinder, gentler man. Scrooge was a very mean old man. What do we think of Scrooge? Scrooge took money from the poor. What do we think of Scrooge? Scrooge was nasty to Bob and Tiny Tim. What do we think of Scrooge? Scrooge was mean and didn't like Christmas. What do we think of Scrooge? Then, one night Scrooge was visited by 3 ghosts and he mended his ways, and Scrooge became a very kind old man. What do we think of Scrooge? Scrooge gave money to the poor. What do we think of Scrooge? Scrooge gave presents to Bob and Tiny Tim. What do we think of Scrooge?
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny, which nobody can deny, which nobody can deny. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny.
Charles Dickens had his very first book, The Pickwick Papers, published in 1836.
Charles went on to have 15 of his novels published. The last one was called Our Mutual Friend. It was published in 1865.
When I got to London, it was very busy. The streets were full of people.
The shops were full of delicious things to eat. Oliver didn't know anybody, and he didn't have any money.
Oliver was very scared, and he was all alone.
Suddenly, a cheeky boy came up to him. That boy was the Artful Dodger.
The Artful Dodger seemed very friendly. He told Oliver some jokes. He cheered him up.
He gave Oliver some food and said they could be friends. Oliver thought that was very nice.
But Oliver was wrong. Dodger cannot be trusted. Dodger was a thief and a pickpocket.
Dodger showed Oliver how to sneak up to people in the street and steal things out of their pockets. This was how they got their money.
One day, he went back to explore other Dickens stories. Maybe David Copperfield, Nicholas Nickleby, and the Tale of Two Sisters, or even Great Expectations.
David Copperfield is another tale of hardship and struggles for a young boy. His father died and his mother marries a very cruel man. David is thrown out of his home when he is 9 years old.
I'm a regular gent, I am. Permit me to assist you across the road.
Well, I was only going to the palace, actually. Doorman, a cab, if you please.
Allow me the privilege to escort you in my own carriage. I'd do anything for you, dear. Anything I'd go anywhere for your smile. Anywhere for your smile. Everywhere I'd see.
What shall I bake me a cake?
Anything. Would you watch the footy?
Anything.
I'd risk everything for one kiss. Everything, yes, I'd do anything, anything for you.
Anything for you, dear, anything. Yes, I'll do anything for you. I'll go anywhere for your smile, anywhere for you and me. Ever see.
What do you take of my chest harness?
Anything.
Would you zoom with me?
Anything.
I'd go anywhere for your smile. Anywhere for your smile. Everywhere I'd see. I know that I'd do anything for you, dear. Anything for you mean everything to me. To me! To me! To me! To me! I'd do anything for you, dear. Anything, yes, I'd do anything.
Anything?
Anything for you.
Would you rob a shop?
Anything.
Would you risk the drop?
Anything.
Though your eyes go pop,
Anything.
and you come down the clock.
And everything we risk happening to keep you in the swing. Yes, we do anything.
Anything?
Anything for you.
We'll get to work then. No argument, man. There's fine pickings in the street. Get out and earn your keep.
A Tale of Two Cities. This story is set in 1775. The royal families in Paris and London were really very rich and lived in luxury, but their subjects, the people, lived in poverty and had nothing.
Who was Nicholas Nickleby? Asked. This story is about a young man who has to take care of his mother and his sister after his father dies.
Oliver lived a long time ago, back in the days when people were poor, everything was grimy, old and dirty. Things were very unfair. Oliver was just a tiny baby when his mother died. Mrs. Mann, who was a nasty woman, looked at the locket on the dead body. She liked it.
I'll have that.
She looked at the locket and she put it in her pocket.
He stole it.
She swiped it. She took it.
Poor Oliver was now an orphan, so Mrs. Mann took him to the workhouse. Mr. Bumble was in charge of the workhouse. He was a mean man.
Mean, mean man.
Oliver was always hungry and had a rumble in his tummy. One day when Oliver was so hungry, he decided to ask Mr. Bumble for more food. He said,
Please, sir, can I have some more?
Please, sir, can I have some more? You want more?
Mr. Bumble was mad. He decided to sell Oliver. First he was sent to an undertaker, then to be a chimney sweep. Oliver didn't like his job, so he ran away. He ran and he ran all the way to London.
He ran and he ran all the way to London.
London was really big. London was really big, busy, noisy and dirty. Oliver was lonely and very scared. Just then, a cheeky young boy came up to him. That young boy was the Artful Dodger.
Hello, my name is Dodger. You are welcome to come home if you want.
Thank you, I will.
To Oliver, Dodger appeared friendly. Little did he know he was a thief and a pickpocket.
A thief and a pickpocket.
He used to sneak up to people in the street and steal things out of their pockets. Dodger took Oliver home with him to meet the other boys and Fagin, the man he used to ask the boys to steal.
Hello everyone. Let me introduce you to Oliver, who will be joining us.
Hello.
Hello, Oliver. Welcome to your new family. I see you have small hands. They will come in handy.
The boys were very scared of Fagin, but there was a person that they feared even more, Bill Sykes, a friend of Fagin's. He was a horrible man who had a dog called Bullseye. He had a kind and caring girlfriend called Nancy. One day, Oliver went out for a walk with Dodger. Suddenly, they stopped when they spotted a richly dressed man reading a book. His name was Mr. Brownlow. Dodger crept up slowly behind him and quickly grabbed his wallet from his pocket. And then they ran away. Stop thief!
He stole it. He stole it.
He swiped it. He took it.
Someone caught Oliver. Oliver shouted,
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Mr. Brownlow came puffing along.
Don't call the police. I believe him. This boy looks hungry and tired. I want to help him. I will take him home with me.
Mr. Brownlow took Oliver home with him to his grand big house. Oliver saw a picture on the wall of a beautiful young lady wearing a locket.
This is my niece, Agnes. You really look like her. How very strange.
Strange, strange, strange.
Oliver liked living with Mr. Brownlow and he felt safe. One day, Oliver was asked to buy Mr. Brownlow some books. On his way there, he met Nancy and Bill.
Oliver, you naughty boy. I found you. Where have you been?
They decided to take Oliver to see Fagin. When they arrived at the house, Fagin immediately stole Oliver's money.
I will have that, thank you very much.
Said Fagin as he grabbed the money off Oliver.
I have a plan. I need Oliver to rob from the big house. I won't do it.
Shouted Oliver.
Lock him in the attic.
Come on, Oliver.
Oliver was really scared as he was watched over by Bullseye. At midnight, Oliver was really scared as he was watched over by Bullseye. At midnight, Oliver was taken to the house where he got pushed through a small window.
I won't do it.
Bill took out a pistol and pointed it at Oliver.
You will do it, my boy. If you know what is good for you.
Shaking with fear, Oliver thought how he could warn the family. He dropped his lantern, it smashed to the floor. A man appeared holding a gun. He fired. Bang! Oliver got shot.
Ouch.
Bill grabs Oliver and they make their escape.
You are slowing me down.
Bill decides to leave Oliver by the roadside. Nancy finds him.
I will help you. We are going to meet Mr. Brownlow on the bridge.
They hurried through the dark street, not noticing that Bill and Bullseye were following them. Finally, Nancy and Oliver arrive at the bridge, where they can see Mr. Brownlow. Nancy stops as she hears the familiar sound of a barking dog. Shaking with fear, she turns around and sees Bill.
Nancy, what are you doing? You betrayed me.
Suddenly, Nancy sees Bill with a gun.
No, Bill.
Nancy shouts, bang, she got shot. Realising what he had done, Bill tried to run away, but he slipped and hung himself off the rooftop. Oliver was safe again with Mr. Brownlow. When they got back to his house, Mr. Brownlow gave Oliver the locket that Mrs. Mann had stolen from his mother. Inside was the name Agnes, with a photo of as the same as the painting on Mr. Brownlow's wall.
Was Agnes my mother?
Yes, your mother and my niece. I gave her the locket many years ago. You're my boy now.
Do I really belong to you?
Asked Oliver, hardly daring to believe it.
You really do. Your unhappy life is over forever.
The end. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed our performance, and even though we have inspired you to go on to more of the wonderful stories written by Charles Dickens.